The Goketsuji clan is currently the third wealthiest family in the world. As a result, there are many who seek control of the clan and the family fortune. The clan will hold a fighting tournament every 5 years, and the winner of this test of strength tournament will assume immediate control of the Gogetsu clan until the next tournament. Goketsuji Ichizoku, also known as Power Instinct, was released in the arcades in 1993. A year later, it would get a home port on both the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. I say Mega Drive since it only released in Japan. The SNES did get a US release, but the Sega Genesis did not. So if this port only came out in Japan, then does that mean the port was that awful? Oh my god. This game is actually good? Am I finally doing a guide on a good fighting game? Okay, maybe I'm being a little unfair. But you gotta understand, the last two games I played did a poor job in their presentation. I can give them credit for keeping the gameplay close to their arcade counterparts, but there are several times I had to play these games on mute while making the guide for them. And that's when I wasn't tired at looking at the dull graphics. As for Power Instinct, they not only nailed it by keeping the gameplay intact, but they also did a really good job everywhere else. The graphics are good, everyone has voice lines for their moves, the sound effects are satisfying, the music does its job well, and there's a lot of content for a fighting game released on this console. A story mode of endings, a practice mode, a team mode, the option to change how much damage certain moves deal, and even an option to perform all moves with the press of a button. Even though this game has a smaller resolution and the graphics could use a little work in terms of their colors, this is easily one of the best fighting games on the Mega Drive. I've given this game enough praise, so let's go over the controls. For this guide, I'll assume that you're using a 6-button controller. You can use a 3-button controller, but it'll be much more difficult since you have to set one of your attacks to start. Power Instinct is a 4-button fighting game. The controls are Light Punch, Strong Punch, Light Kick, and Strong Kick. For this guide, I'll list the buttons as follow. X is Light Punch, Y is Heavy Punch, A is Light Kick, and B is Heavy Kick. The extra buttons can also be used to perform heavy attacks, or they can be used to perform special moves with a press of a button. You can set these buttons to instant special moves in the special key config, but keep in mind that these shortcuts are disabled in the story mode. It can also make the game unbalanced since they'll allow you to perform combos that are otherwise impossible. Now that we got the controls down, let's talk about the gameplay. Fights are decided by best of 3, and you win a round by depleting your opponent's health to 0. But before we talk about offense, let's talk about movement. As expected, you can move left, right, crouch, and jump in one of 3 directions. What isn't as obvious is that you can double jump in this game. No matter which direction you started with, your second jump can be in any of the 3 directions. So if you want, you can perform a jump forward, then perform a jump backward while still mid-air. The last important movement option is dashing. This is done by tapping back or forward 2 times. Forward dashes are good for closing the distance and starting your offense. Back dashes can be used for retreating, but they are also useful in that you become invincible during the animation. So you can avoid certain attacks by back dashing. Movement is important, but we can't win if we don't know how to fight, so let's talk about offense. Light attacks are quick, but don't deal a lot of damage. Heavy attacks tend to be slower, but deal more damage than light attacks. This will vary from character to character, as some heavy attacks come out almost instantly. You can perform normal attacks while standing, crouching, or jumping. And you can combo normal attacks into each other as well, but we'll talk about combos later. On top of normal attacks, you can also perform special moves. How they are performed will vary, but for the most part, they require you to do some kind of motion. Quarter circles, half circles, or even holding down for a brief moment then pressing up with a button. For some characters, using special moves in tandem can be very effective. Here's an example. Right now, Otane is full screen away from the opponent. In this scenario, she might perform Ryusei Ranbodan, a special move that shoots multiple projectiles. While the opponent will have plenty of time to block it, they might get annoyed and try to double jump over it. This is where Ikakugan comes into play. When Otane performs Ryusei Ranbodan, she will immediately be holding down in order to have Ikakugan ready. If the opponent doesn't jump over the fireballs immediately, she will have enough time to get out of the animation, then immediately hit the opponent out of the air with Ikakugan by pressing up plus punch. This is similar to the same situation Gao can do in Street Fighter, in which he can use sonic booms to make the opponent jump into his flash kick. If you perform a normal attack, you can cancel the animation by performing a special move. This is called a special cancel, and is one of the easiest ways to perform a simple but effective combo. Using Keith as an example, he can hold down plus back to have Knuckle Bomber ready. When he hits the opponent with Crouch Heavy Punch, he can immediately cancel the animation into Knuckle Bomber by pressing forward plus light punch. This is a basic combo he can do, and the more advanced combos will require you to combo normal attacks into each other before going into a special cancel. Last thing I should mention is dash attacks. These can be performed by everyone and the range and speed will depend on the character. What doesn't change is how each dash attack works. First off, dash punches and dash kicks behave differently. Dash punches leave the opponent standing and can be a useful combo starter for some characters. Dash kicks will knock the opponent far away. This can be useful if you want to create some distance between you and the opponent. Second, it doesn't matter which button you use for a certain dash attack. Whether you use light punch or heavy punch, the dash punch will be exactly the same. We've got a decent idea on how to fight, but we need to know how to defend ourselves. Defense is important in this game due to how high damage can be in certain cases. It will become a worse scenario if you take too many hits in a short amount of time, as that can lead into a dizzy. If you become dazed, you won't be able to act until you recover. You can speed up this animation by mashing the buttons, but it still gives the opponent a good amount of time to hit you for free damage. So how do we defend? Well, simply put, you hold back to block while standing. To crouch block, you'll have to hold down plus back. Mid-air attacks should always be blocked while standing, and there are some ground attacks that can only be blocked while crouching. These are called highs and lows. Mid attacks can be blocked while standing or crouching. Blocking normal attacks will prevent you from taking damage, but you'll take chip damage if you block special moves. Outside of mixing up your attacks and dealing chip damage, you can deal with a defensive opponent by throwing them. Throws are done by pressing forward plus heavy punch while up close. All characters can do this on the ground and while midair. This is something to consider if you're having a hard time breaking through your opponent's defense. I've pretty much mentioned almost everything you need to know, but there are a few more things I want to go over. If you want the complete guide to this game, you can check it out by clicking the link in the description. If the opponent hits you out of the air with an attack that doesn't knock you down, you can perform an aerial recovery by jumping. This can be useful in situations where you're cornered, or even as a means to surprise the opponent with a mid-air attack. A dash stop is done by pressing down during your dash. This can be useful if you want to close the distance with a crouching move instead of a dash attack. A forward back dash is done by pressing back immediately after performing a forward dash. I can't think of a reason to do this, but it does allow you to perform sliding dash attacks backward. Almost all characters can utilize the LP-LK chain. With proper timing, you can cancel the animation of light punch into light kick. This might not sound like much at first, but it makes certain combos become possible. For example, Keith can't combo crouch light kick into stand heavy punch, but if he starts to combo with light punch into light kick, he'll be able to combo into standing heavy punch. Coming up is the no miss run. I'm glad to say that the CPU in this game is acceptable compared to other fighting games I've played. Even on the hardest difficulty, they didn't feel as strict, but they still have their fair share of cheap nonsense that can be annoying if you don't know how to deal with it. Other than that, it wasn't too bad getting through this game. If you want to see your character's ending, you have to play on difficulty 6 or higher. With all of that said, now on to the no miss run, and I'll see you at the end of the run when I give my final thoughts on this game. If you couldn't tell from the beginning of this video, I think Goketsuji Ichizoku is a great fighting game on the Mega Drive. The gameplay is very close to the arcade version, it has plenty of modes, the presentation is good, and it only gets better when you have a friend to play with. But even without a second player, I had a really good time with this game. It was a breath of fresh air to finally play against AI that wasn't doing everything possible to read my moves. It was fun to figure out the difficult but satisfying combos that these characters can pull off. To be honest, I think this game really is a hidden gem on the Mega Drive. If you have any interest in fighting games, this game is a must try. But even if you aren't, you should at least give it a shot. It really is one of the best fighting games on the Mega Drive, and it's depressing that we never got this in the States. Thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun playing this game, and it kept me more than motivated to make a guide on it. Until then, I'll see you on the next guide I do.